They were the world's most famous superhero couple. Mr. Crystal could create giant crystalline structures, the likes of which were only limited by his imagination. He used this ability to maintain an iron fist control over the city's supervillain population. But then he met her. Supernova was fiery and passionate. When she met him, she told him that she wasn't right for him, but he pursued her anyway. And finally, after a long period of will they, won't they kissed at the top of a crystalline structure that Mr. Crystal had made in front of the city to show the entire world how in love with Supernova he was. "Just so you know, I'm bad news," Supernova said. "I don't care," Mr. Crystal said, kissing her. After that time, they were together for years, keeping the city safe. Him with his crystal abilities, her with her impressive flight and control of fire. But it wasn't meant to last. There was one day that hit Mr. Crystal like a truck, a day that would forever be etched in his memories. "This world is mine," the panda said, looming high above everyone else. The 20-foot-tall panda-colored man was a thorn in Mr. Crystal and Supernova's side for many years. Even though his abilities of super strength and gigantism were not that impressive, his incredible intellect and ability to mobilize large groups of supervillains made him a constant threat. The mob of supervillains were overwhelming Mr. Crystal, destroying the crystalline structures as soon as he made them. Babe," Mr. Crystal said, "can you help me out here?" "I'm a little busy, sweetheart," Supernova said, fending off a giant homunculus with a huge level of flame. "I'm fading fast. Think you can help me?" Mr. Crystal threw out a giant crystalline structure, punching the homunculus in the face, leaving him towards the ground. But it was too late. The panda was getting closer and closer to the little girl that the two of them were protecting. The little girl that could amplify superpowers tenfold. If he touched her, he would grow to the size of a skyscraper, and the situation would be out of control. The panda got closer and closer, laughing. "Give up, lovebirds. It's over." He reached out towards the girl. If he touched her skin, Mr. Crystal knew that the entire city would be at risk. He couldn't risk it, but the only way to do it would be a kill shot. Mr. Crystal didn't kill. Vroom. Supernova burned the panda to a crisp, leaving a charred skeleton on the ground. She landed on top of the skeleton and put her hands out with fire. "Who's next?" she said. Mr. Crystal couldn't believe it. The woman he loved had just killed for the first time, and she was making such an expression of anger and pain on her face that he couldn't wrap his head around it. After that, it was over. The most powerful supervillain being gone meant that the supervillains infought, and Mr. Crystal was able to construct a giant crystalline prison for all the supervillains. But something ate at him. The woman he loved was a murderer. When they got back home to his crystal palace overlooking the city, Mr. Crystal was troubled, looking out at the view. "Why'd you do it?" "There was another way," Mr. Crystal said. "There wasn't another way," Supernova said, her hair wet after taking a shower. She looked distant, different from how he remembered. "We're superheroes," Mr. Crystal said. "We don't kill people." Supernova sighed and looked out. "What, you disagree?" "No, it's just..." She turned and looked at him. "I told you that I wasn't right for you. You're good. You've kept me on a good path, but..." She looked out at the view. "I don't think that we can go on like this, not killing threats when they arise." "Well, that's unacceptable," Mr. Crystal said, creating a fist. "I can't do it." Supernova nodded, and Mr. Crystal wanted to say more, but she simply went to bed. Mr. Crystal couldn't believe it. He was losing her. He could feel he was losing her. The little girl was distraught. She had no parents, and her ability made her incredibly powerful. Mr. Crystal hadn't touched her skin, but he knew if he did, he would become incredibly strong, powerful enough to, perhaps, end all the suffering in the city. End it long enough to talk to Supernova, to save his relationship. "Your gift only works once, right?" Mr. Crystal asked. "Yeah," she looked out into the distance. "At least for a couple years." "Give it to me," Mr. Crystal said, putting his hand out. "If you give it to me, I'll have the ability to protect the city from the criminals." He didn't say the other part, about how he and Supernova were overworked. If his crystal ability was made more powerful, perhaps he could save the city and save his relationship. The little girl looked in his eyes and smiled. He was handsome and good with kids. Everybody knew the way that he looked was part of his whole thing. Kids were inspired to be superheroes because of Mr. Crystal. "You promise you'll stop the villains?" she asked. Mr. Crystal nodded. "With all my heart." She touched his hand and gave him her ability. The crystals overwhelmed him. He felt all their connections. The earth was overwhelming. He passed out. "Darling? Darling," Supernova said. Mr. Crystal awoke and saw Supernova leaning over him, incredibly concerned. The little girl was looking at him and she was crying. "I didn't know what I was doing," she said. "I'm sorry." Mr. Crystal tried to get up, but when he looked at his hands, they were made entirely out of blue crystals. "Sweetheart, calm down," Supernova said. "We have to." Mr. Crystal ran into the bathroom and looked at his expression in the mirror. He was made entirely out of crystals, a bizarre homunculus of crystal. His scream could be heard throughout the entire Crystal Palace, through the entire rest of the world. Amplify his abilities, the little girl certainly did. Mr. Crystal's crystal abilities were always limited to his imagination, but now he could stop threats by creating other alternate crystal versions of himself to patrol the city. With 10 Mr. Crystals going around, all the supervillains skipped town, otherwise they would have been stuck in the superpowered crystal prison, and nobody wanted that. But still, Mr. Crystal couldn't believe his hideous appearance. He tried to turn the crystals off to be human again, but he just couldn't. When he was alone with Supernova, he tried to hold her hand, and she pulled away. "Sweetheart," Mr. Crystal said. "Why didn't you consult with me?" Supernova said. "I was trying to..." "You were being stupid, is what you were being," Supernova said. "I can't believe this." She held back tears. She was so beautiful, even when she was about to cry. "I'm sorry, darling. I did it for us," Mr. Crystal said. "I had no idea the little girl would..." "You're not acting like yourself anymore," she said. "I remember when we fell in love. It was like a love song. It was like every single movie I had seen in my childhood was real, and I knew that love was real." Supernova turned to him. "But how am I supposed to be with you when you're like this?" "It's temporary, darling. I'll fix it." "No," she said. "Because lately, our love hasn't been how it has been in the love songs. It's been hard, and She looked out over the horizon. "You've been holding me back. I think we should break up." The news broke Mr. Crystal's heart. "But darling, I thought we would stay together for..." "Me too," Supernova said. She looked at him in his eyes, and now she was really crying. Mr. Crystal tried to reach out to hold her, but touching his crystal skin made her feel worse. "I'm sorry," she said, and she flew off into the distance. Mr. Crystal wanted to hit something. He screamed in rage. He went into his crystal prison for supervillains and challenged the most powerful villains to fight him, but all of them were terrified. His abilities were so powerful, so incredibly powerful. With his soldiers, he could travel far and wide. He visited the experts to ask about the girl's ability. The only person who would ever see him was Dark Wizard, and Dark Wizard was not exactly a superhero. When he went into Dark Wizard's domain, Dark Wizard looked over Mr. Crystal's skin and nodded. "The only thing that I can advise you to do is hope." "Hope?" Mr. Crystal said. "Supernova's gone. I don't sleep anymore. I'm not human anymore. I have to..." "You're a superhero, right?" Dark Wizard said, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," Mr. Crystal said. "Hold on to that. Use that. And come see me in a couple years. Maybe it'll start to wear off. We can only hope." Mr. Crystal wanted to fight something, but he had done his job too well. He wanted to find Supernova, but she had left the city. He tried to reach her, to call her, to write to her. She didn't answer anything. He knew it was done. Maybe if he fixed himself, but there was no use. He fell to the floor, alone in his city, and he curled into a ball, waiting for the next time the city was in danger. Somehow the panda was alive. He hadn't been fully killed. His skeletal form led an army of supervillains to attack Mr. Crystal's palace. But he shouldn't have come to fight Mr. Crystal that day. Mr. Crystal created giant constructs out of crystal to fight the villains, and the villains that were so confident raiding his palace were running away, terrified, in fear. The panda stood, quivering, as Mr. Crystal's crystal form looked at him in the eyes, with a giant, jagged crystal up to his neck. "What are you waiting for?" the panda said. "Supernova killed you," Mr. Crystal said. "Maybe I should do the same. Finish her job." Panda chuckled. "She left, didn't she?" Mr. Crystal dug his crystalline blade into Panda's neck. Blood went down onto his crystal. "It was a joke," Panda said, sweating. "Come on, please." Mr. Crystal put his crystal down and looked out over the view of the city. "She doesn't love me anymore," Mr. Crystal said. He knew admitting this to a supervillain was silly, distant, different. Panda would have mocked him normally, but instead, Panda just sighed. "I'm sorry, kid." Mr. Crystal turned around and looked at him. Panda raised an eyebrow. "You think I don't know a thing or two about being so physically disgusting that no woman ever wants you?" Mr. Crystal hadn't thought about it, but Panda's giant body was a lot for a woman. Mr. Crystal touched his crystal skin. He looked into Panda's eyes and said, "She said she wanted a love like from a love song," Mr. Crystal said. "But the musicians in the love song weren't writing about women." He sighed. "What were they writing about?" Panda said, his bleeding slowly stopping. "I don't know," Mr. Crystal said, chuckling a little bit. "I think they were writing about drugs." Mr. Crystal lost himself in his work. Even though there were no villains, he started teaching sculpture, creating beautiful sculptures to wow the citizens of the city. He started addressing the root causes of why crime was happening and advocating, teaching in youth groups, showing kids that they didn't need to turn to a life of crime, preventing crimes before they happened. He was dead inside, and he wanted to cry every single night, missing her, but she wasn't coming back. And eventually, even though his crystal form stayed, he knew she had been right all that time ago. She never was right for him at all.